Hare Krishna everyone, good morning. Thank you for your association. We'll make a start on Srimad Bhagavatam class and attentive japa. So thank you for joining. Today we're talking about the falldown of Saubhari Muni, how such an exalted personality can fall down. It just shows that how strong the mind and the senses are, that it's very difficult to control them sometimes. And so this is partly concerned with that. So Saubhari Muni, he was doing his austerity in a place where he was meant to be a very quiet place, without disturbance, underwater, with only fish as company. And how did he fall from there? So we'll make a start on that. Let's do a quick prayer first of all. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai. Haribol. So to find the answer, we will start by there's another pastime, another story that we have to look into first of all, and this is to do with the Kaliya Nag and Garuda, the carrier of Lord Vishnu. So what happened that Krishna used to go with the Gopas and his brother Balram to the bank of Yamuna to tend the cows, and one summer when all the boys and cows were in the field, they became very thirsty and began to drink the water of Yamuna. The river, however, had been poisoned by the venom of the great serpent Kaliya, and the boys and cows who drank from it suddenly fell down, panic dead on the ground. So Krishna, being the life of all that lives, simply cast his merciful glance over all the boys and cows, and they at once regained consciousness and began to look at each other with great astonishment. They could understand that by drinking the water of the Yamuna they had died, and that the merciful glance of Krishna had restored their lives. So what happened then? Krishna climbed up a tree on the bank of the Yamuna and jumped onto the poisonous into the poisonous river, and then onto the head of the Kaliya Nag, and he smashed the 100-headed serpent's heads with his lotus feet. Krishna at the same time bestowed the highest benediction upon Kaliya. By touching the snake with his holy lotus feet, Krishna released Kaliya from his sins. So Krishna is completely purified just by his touch. We become purified. So the snake became gradually reduced in strength and began to throw poisonous materials. So as Krishna was smashing him, his poisons were coming out, and it appeared that personality Godhead were being worshipped, and the poison emanating from the mouth of the serpent were flower offerings. This is sometimes the realization of the acharyas. Then Kaliya, now vomiting blood instead of poison, appearing to be almost dead, finally began to realize that Krishna was the Supreme Personality Godhead, because he was puffed up with all this poison inside him. He became really puffed up. He felt really powerful, and now the poison was released. He suddenly realized his position, that Krishna is the Lord and he is supreme. And this is sometimes happens to us. When we accumulate too much wealth or we're very strong, we start thinking that we are controlling everything. But it's when we lose things, then we realize that we're not the controllers. So then King Parikshit, after hearing this is obviously King Parikshit being told by Shukadeva Goswami about this pastime, and after hearing the chastisement of Kaliya, inquired from Shukadeva Goswami as to why Kaliya left his beautiful land of Nagalya and came to the Yamuna, and why Garuda was so antagonistic to him. Shukadeva Goswami informed the king that the island known as Nagalya was inhabited by serpents. So Kaliya had come to Yamuna, and King Parikshit wanted, now why did he come to the Yamuna river? Why didn't he stay in Nagalya, where it's very, it's the best, that's the home, that's the best place for him. So Shukadeva Goswami informed the king that the island known as Nagalya was inhabited by serpents, and that Kali was one of the chief serpents there. So, being accustomed to eating snakes, Garuda used to come to this island and kill many reptile society serpents at will, and some of them he actually ate, but some were unnecessarily killed. So what they decided, that the serpent became so disturbed that the leader Vasuki appealed to Lord Brahma for protection. Lord Brahma made an arrangement by which Garuda wouldn't create a disturbance. So they decided that on each half moon day, the reptile community would offer a serpent to Garuda. And the serpent was to be kept underneath a tree as a sacrificial offering to Garuda. And Garuda was satisfied with this offering, and therefore he didn't disturb any of the serpents. So they came to an agreement that Garuda could have a regular meal, so to speak, and not to just go whimsically and killing and torturing the reptiles. But gradually Kalia took advantage of the situation. He was unnecessarily puffed up by the volume of his accumulated poison, as well as by his material power, and he thought, well, why should Garuda be offered this sacrifice? So he then ceased offering any sacrifice, and said he himself ate the offering intended for Garuda. So when Garuda, the great devotee carrier of Vishnu, understood that Kali was eating the offered sacrifices, he became naturally very angry and rushed to the island to kill the offensive serpent. Kali tried to fight Garuda and faced him with his many hoods and poisonous sharp teeth. Kali attempted to bite him, and Garuda, the son of Taraksha, in great anger and with the great force befitting the carrier of Lord Vishnu, struck the body of Kalia with his effulgent golden wings. Kalia, who is known as Kadrusta, son of Kadru, immediately fled to the lake known as Kalia Hirid, which lay within the Yamuna river and which Garuda could not approach. So this is why Kalia was residing in Yamuna river, but he was poisoning it. This is the problem. Now, the reason he was hiding there, because Garuda had been cursed by Saubhari Muni, and Kalia knew that he can hide in the Yamuna river where Krishna and his friend used to play, because Garuda couldn't touch him up there. So he, that was his safety, that was his shelter there. And the reason Kalia took shelter within the water of the Yamuna was because just as Garuda went to the island of Kalia Snake, he also used to go to the Yamuna to catch fish to eat. Saubhari Muni used to meditate within the water there and was sympathetic with the fish. Right? So Saubhari Muni was meditating on the bed of Yamuna, and he was very sympathetic with the fish there. He asked Garuda not to come there and disturb the fish, and although Garuda was not under anyone's order, being the carrier of Lord Vishnu, he didn't disobey the order of the great yogi. Instead of staying and eating many fish, he carried off one big fish who was their leader. Saubhari Muni was sorry that one of the leaders of the fish was taken away by Garuda, and thinking of their protection, he cursed Garuda with following words: "Henceforward from this day, if Garuda comes here to catch fish, then I say with all my strength, he will be immediately killed." This curse was known to Kalia. Kalia was therefore confident that Garuda would not be able to come here, and so he thought it was wise to take shelter of the lake within the Yamuna. So this is what was happening. So although Garuda didn't try to retaliate, the Muni wasn't saved from his offensive act against a great Vaishnava personality like Garuda. So because the sage had cursed Garuda, and who is under the protection of Lord Vishnu, so he was going to get a reaction for that. So due to this offense, Saubhari Muni fell down from his yogic position and afterward became a householder, a sense enjoyer in the material world. So the forerunner of Saubhari Muni, who was supposed to be absorbed in spiritual bliss by meditation, is an instruction to all offender of Vaishnavas. So how did he fall down? Well, his fall down happened as one day Saubhari Muni was engaged in austerity deep in the water of the river Yamuna. When he saw a pair of fish engaged in sexual affairs activity, he became agitated just by that. So thus he perceived the pleasure of sex life, and induced by this desire, he left his austerity and went to King Mandata, who had 50 daughters, and begged for one of the king's daughters. So just by watching the fish, he became agitated. This shows that you could, for meditation, you could do for thousands of years, just like Vishwamitra, and you can easily get agitated because you're just suppressing your senses. You're not getting mercy from Lord Krishna like you would when you're doing bhakti. If you're just meditating and you're just suppressing the senses, and they can easily still, it's like a spring, you're holding them down, but as soon as you let them go, they'll bounce up out. Like a spring, the senses, they took over him. So he went to King Mandata and asked for the hand of one of his daughters, and in response to this request, the king said, "O Brahman, any of my daughters may accept any husband according to her personal selection." So he wasn't going to force his daughters to marry Saubhari Muni. He says, my daughters will make up their own mind who they want to marry. I'm not forcing them. And Saubhari Muni thought, well, I'm now feeble because of old age, my hair has become grey, my skin is slack, and my head always trembles. Besides, I'm a yogi, therefore women don't like me. Since the king has thus rejected me, I shall reform my body in such a way as to be desired even to celestial women, what to speak of the daughters of worldly kings. So he had mystic powers, and using these powers, he became quite a young and beautiful person. The messenger of the palace, then he went again to the palace, and the messenger of the palace took him inside the residential quarters of the princesses, which were extremely opulent. All 50 princesses then accepted him as their husband. As soon as they saw him, he looked so attractive that they all wanted to be his wives. So thereafter, the princesses, being attracted by him, gave up their sisterly relationship and quarreled among themselves. Now the sisters became rivals, and each one of them contending, "This man is just suitable for me and not for you." And this way they ensued a great disagreement. And Saubhari Muni accepted all 50 as his wife. And because Saubhari Muni was expert in chanting mantras perfectly, his severe austerities resulted in an opulent home. So the austerity still had the results of those austerities that he could use. And he produced an opulent home with garments, ornaments, properly dressed and decorated maidservants and manservants, and varieties of parks with clear water, lakes and gardens. The gardens were fragrant with varieties of flowers, birds chirped and bees hummed. Surrounded by professional singers, his home was amply provided with valuable beds, seats, ornaments and arrangements for bathing. And there were varieties of sandalwood creams, flower garlands and palatable dishes. So surrounded by opulent paraphernalia, the Muni engaged in family affairs with his numerous wives. In this way, Saubhari Muni enjoyed sense gratification in the material world. But because he was a yogi and he was agitated, and he thought, he needs to be married and have sense gratification, sense enjoyment, but actually he wasn't at all satisfied, because he realizes that as a fire never ceases blazing if constantly supplied with drops of fat. So this material enjoyment, there is no end to it. The more you enjoy, even more you want to enjoy. So thereafter, one day, while Saubhari Muni was sitting in a secluded place, he thought to himself about the cause of his fall down, which was simply that he associated himself with the sexual affairs of the fish. It just seems ridiculous, especially for a Muni. And alas, while practicing austerity even within the depths of the water, and while observing all the rules and regulations practiced by saintly persons, I lost the results of my long austerity simply by association with watching two fish together. So in the beginning, he's thinking I was alone and engaged in performing the austerities of mystic yoga, but later, because of the association of fish, I desired to marry. Then I became the husband of 50 wives, and in each of them I begot 100 sons each. So he must have been married for a while, and then he's thinking enough is enough. I've been associating with these 50 women for so long, but still I'm not satisfied. My sense gratification is still strong, but it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. This is like I'm not achieving anything of significance. And then I desired to marry, became thus my 50 wives, and each I got 100 sons, and thus my family increased to 5,000 members. And by the influence of the modes of material nature, I became fallen and thought that I would be happy in material life. Thus there is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life and the next. This could just go on and on and on. Where does this stop? So in this way, he passed his life in household affairs for some time, but then he became detached from material enjoyment. So when you realize that this is just a temporary enjoyment, it's chapla sukha, you enjoy it, then you get bored, and then you enjoy again, and it just like fluctuating on and off. It's just like when we eat delicious food, you enjoy it, and then you've had enough, and then next time you want it again and again, and it just never stops, does it? Your enjoyment tendency. So to renounce material association, he accepted the one-prast order and went to the forest. So this time he didn't go underwater, he went to the forest instead, and he realized that this chewing the chewed is is just going on, and enough is enough. I have to get back to my bhakti or my meditation. But now in this instance, he went to the forest, and his devoted wives followed him, for they had no shelter other than their husband. He performed very severe austerities and thus attained perfection. In this regard, Shukadeva Goswami described how Saubhari Muni's wives also became perfect. Because when Saubhari Muni, who was quite conversant with the self, went to the forest, he performed severe penance. In this way, in the fire at the time of death, he ultimately engaged himself in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at the time of death, fire burns the gross body. Now this is, after listening to this, it's very interesting. I didn't know this before. It's very interesting to know that at the time of death, fire burns the gross body, and if there is no more desire for material enjoyment, the subtle body is also ended. Normally your subtle body would go with you, enclosing the spirit soul, but it says here in Bhagavatam that if you have no more desire for material enjoyment, the subtle body is also ended, and in this way a pure soul remains. And I guess this is how we go back to Goloka. When there's no more desires, your material and your subtle bodies are completely finished. Only the soul is left, pure, which is pure. And this is confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita as well. Tyaktava deham pura janma neti mameti so Arjuna. So if one is free from the bondage of both the gross and subtle material bodies and remains a pure soul, he returns home back to Godhead to be engaged in the service of the Lord. So the subtle body doesn't go back to Goloka either, or Vaikuntha, it doesn't go back there. Only the soul goes back. Thus it appears that Saubhari Muni attained the perfect stage. So, very good. Even after all that, he managed to get back to his senses, and he achieved the goal. And Maharaj Parikshit, Shukadeva Goswami mentioned that by observing their husband progressing in spiritual existence, Saubhari Muni's wives were also able to enter the spiritual world by his spiritual power. Just as the flames of a fire cease when the fire is extinguished. Srila Prabhupada explains that if a woman is fortunate enough to get a suitable husband who is spiritually advanced, and if she always engages in his service, she also gets the same benefit as the husband. Here it is clearly said that the wives of Saubhari Muni also entered the spiritual world by the influence of their husband. They were unfit because they were but because they were faithful followers of their husband, they also entered the spiritual world with him. Thus, a woman should be faithful servant of a worthy husband. And if the husband is spiritually advanced, the woman will automatically get the opportunity to enter the spiritual world. So it's a fantastic pastime, and so much to learn from there. Um, that even though Saubhari Muni had made a mistake, he managed to recover himself, and not only that, he managed to take the 50 wives back home as well. So fantastic. And I mean, when he cursed Garuda, he obviously he wasn't doing it for himself. He was doing it for the snake community, for the reptile community. So he didn't have his own personal agenda in there. He was just upset that Garuda was upsetting the snakes and killing them for no reason. Sometimes just for sport as well, not just for eating. But Garuda was under protection of uh, Lord Vishnu, so there had to be something. But in the end, everything went well. It came good. So this is, and I was just going to say that um, when devotees ask questions, like we had questions last week, and Bhagavad Mataji especially asked very good questions. And I'm thinking that what we'll do, because sometimes we don't have enough time to explain in detail, we can have a class on any questions you have. We can have class on that question. If the explanation is not elaborate, we can do a class on it. So you can put in the chat box if there anything that you would like a class on. I mean, it will only be like a 20-25 minute class, but if you like a class on something from the Srimad Bhagavatam, we can do that. So please, from now on, anything you would like to hear about, please, starting now, if you like, you can put in the chat box anything you like to hear about, and we can do a class on that. So going forward, we'll do a class on how to get into the mode of goodness and how to transcend into pure goodness from Srimad Bhagavatam explains. So we will go into detail on that, and I think it'll be really interesting. We can discuss that. But for now, we'll have a discussion on this topic that we're just discussing. I just want to welcome everybody, Sweshi Mataji, and chant and be happy Prabhu. I think this Shani Mataji and Prabhu, and Harini Mataji, Rukuni Mataji, and iPhone Prabhu, Jai Prabhu, Kajol Mataji, Madhav Shamsundar Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, Praveen Mataji, and Rita Parekh Mataji. Thank you all for joining. And Sweshi Mataji, I think would you like to start? I think you have your microphone on, so we can make a start. So what do you think about this pastime, Mataji?
Well, Saubhari Muni, the lesson we learned from Saubhari Muni is that he offended Garuji. That's why he had a fall. He fell down from his position because he cursed Garur, and Garur is a Vaishnav, and he's a carrier of Lord Vishnu. So that's the reason. One reason is falling down. And another reason is association is very important, whom you associate with. And he had seen the association of a fish, and that was another fall down. And with this austerity, he was doing all the austerity for himself. It was all material he wanted to enjoy. And then he had all the luxuries and he became young. So we have, people forget that they want to enjoy themselves in this world, and they think that God given everything, just to enjoy themselves. But they forget that the real enjoyer is Krishna. We must offer everything to Krishna to enjoy instead of enjoying ourselves. Like in Bhagavad-Gita, he says, Bhoktaram Ishtam Sablokimeshwaram. He is the enjoyer of everything. So what we like, nice, anything we think is very nice, we must offer to Krishna. But and any austerity we do, any penances we don't do for the material things. We do it for Krishna. And thank you. That's what I can say.
Jai, thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Jai Prabhu, I got something.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yeah, well, this story shows that even somebody has been performing severe austerities and striving for perfection can be affected by DCI and fall down by simply seeing fish in an intimate situation. So, um, I think Bhagavad-Gita 3.39 say talks about lust being the eternal enemy, and it's never satisfied and burns like fire. So the thing is, one should keep the mind, focused on Krishna in everything they do, and redirect all the mind and senses, and think of Krishna in everything they do. I think the more he misused his powers he gained from his austerity, making himself young and to fulfill his, lustful desires. Yeah, that's it. And I think the last thing was that I think you alluded at the end. Anyone who wants to enjoy, enjoy this world probably has to return to it. Yeah, that's it.
Sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I mean, these pastimes, they teach us a lesson, don't they? Because he thought he will find happiness in enjoying, in getting married, having so many wives, everything. But then later on, he realizes that that was not the case, and his real enjoyment, you might be happy, but the happiness is in material life. The happiness is always fluctuating. One day you're happy, then you're not, and it becomes brings his side effects. Material life brings side effects. One, if you solve one problem, it creates many more problems. So you can be happy in material life, but you can't be satisfied. Satisfaction you will only find in the Lord, in the lotus feet of the Lord. That's where the satisfaction is. In material life, you can be happy, but the happiness will fluctuate. It's not a continuous happiness. The continuous happiness and which will give you satisfaction is only in the with the Lord, with the bhakti. And also you find that obviously we can't do austerities like Saubhari Muni did, but it just shows that after spending thousands of years, you still you won't be purified. You won't completely be purified just by doing meditation. You'll get mystic powers, but you won't get purified, and we can't do those uh, meditations anyway. We don't have a big enough lifespan. We don't have any facility. We don't have the strength, so we can't do that. So the best option for us is bhakti. And these people have showed us, look, we did this, and look, this is what, it's like your parents telling us, we have been through this experience, we experienced this, don't make the same mistake. So Bhagavatam shows us that these people, these exalted people, they made mistakes, and please learn from it. This is what Bhagavatam is showing us, that please learn from these mistakes. Look, they were here, and then they thought this was better, but then they realized, and they came back again, better and stronger. But this is where you're supposed to be, not where you think you're supposed to be. And then the example is given by these munis. Vishwamitra showed as well, and then he went back to his austerity as well after falling down. But they realized that this is our position. We should realize our position. That sometimes we forget, and then we wander off, but then we come back again. But our life span is not big enough that we can make mistakes, we can fall down, and then come back again and again. We can't do that. So whatever the opportunity we've been given right now, we should make most of that and use it by the time we have. Even Krishna says that he likes people who are consistent, not people who keep going off and back, off and back. That doesn't work. You have to be consistent. You have to be enthusiastic. You have to be strong, and we have to learn from these. They are like Shiksha gurus, and we can learn from their mistakes. Okay, thank you so much. Partha Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Jai.
Jay. Nice class again, Prabhu.
Yeah, very nice.
And one of the points which I read through is like there are different processes like Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, but Bhakti Yoga is so easy to actually carry out. And second is it is done with the association of devotees. You are not running away from any other devotees. That helps you to derive the inspiration from others. So that is where like even though we are performing certain austerities and after a long time there's a chance of fall down because we don't derive inspiration from other people, and and that is the one like in Ashtanga yoga or any other yoga you're doing all alone. That is why like even here Saubhari Muni fall down because he could not derive any inspiration from other people. If somebody is there around, he might not have taken the step again. So that is why have the association of devotees and carry out bhakti yoga, which is simple and enjoyable. That's it.
Excellent. Yes, very good point, Prabhu. There's a point about when the devotee said to Prabhupada that why do we need association of devotees? Why do we need a guru? Why can't we just read the books and
Yeah.
and just follow instructions? And Prabhupada is just a young man, so Prabhupada grabbed his ear and he thought, wow, what's going on here? Prabhupada said,
Hmm.
because the books won't do this to you when you go wrong. So yeah, it's association of devotees. If you're falling down, losing enthusiasm, something is not right, the association of devotees, the seniors will correct you that
Yeah.
you're drifting off, please come back to
Yeah.
the path, to the straight path. So this is the advantage of having association of devotees. You're quite right. So had he been associating with devotees, then they would have told him that you're making a mistake before he even made it, isn't it?
Yeah. Correct.
Found out after thousands of years that I made a mistake. Well, they could have told him that in the first place. That look, it's just a glitch in your
Yes.
bhakti. Then don't think too much of it. Just get back on the path. Well, bhakti in this case is meditation. Get back on the path and carry on because you will otherwise be just wasting time. But he had to find out. Sometimes we like that. Sometimes we find out things the hard way.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't take advice even. Even like if you are in association, some people don't even take advice. They have to make the mistake and then find out. But then, like I said, we don't have this big lifespan that we can afford to make mistakes or afford to lose out
Yeah.
on what we have achieved so far. We have to stick to it. And this is what Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita as well, that you have to be strong and you have to continue. You can't be. It doesn't like devotees who can't make up their mind where they want to
Yeah.
go. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Rukmini Mataji.
Hello,
Hello,
Haribol.
Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, it is true. In this Kali Yuga, the association is very, 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 very most important. Otherwise, it won't take a little time to fall down from the pious and religious life.
Sure.
So it's a very good lesson from Saubhari Muni. So we must always chant Hare Krishna and be happy, nothing else. This is the main powerful mantra to keep us in association with Lord Krishna and good pious people. So
Yes.
that is very good lesson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's right. Please, we should learn from this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, if I can share, I'm at work, but still I'll try to share. It was a good lesson. Thank you for this class, Prabhuji, because I think what Saubhari Muni's story tells me is that you will go to work, you'll go to other places. It's not that you can be with the association of devotees always, because you have to deliver your swadharma. Sanatana dharma is eternal, but you always have to make sure that you stay away from that maya or energy, which exterior energy, which can consume you. So you always have to, you have to have a sandwich program where you begin with your spiritual energy and then you end with the spiritual energy, and then not let whatever you see in that maya, like how Saubhari Muni saw the fish, and then and he changed his path. But then you should never let anything that you see to change your mood and path. You should always be engaged in the form, in the nature, in the pastimes of Krishna, wherever you are, and you'll be protected. So thank you very much, and thank you very much for everyone's realizations as well. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mataji. As we were discussing 2-3 weeks ago, that obviously we have, as Grastas especially, we have to take association of all kinds of people, whether it's work or otherwise. We have to meet. Not taking association of the other people means that we don't take their ideas. We give them our ideas. That's how we have to look at it. We can't avoid people. Sometimes even like the brahmacharis become uh, over excited, or not overexcited, but over endeavor in avoiding, say, Matajis and things like that. But you can't do that. You have to associate, but you just don't take. If the idea does not lead to Krishna, then don't take that idea. That's the thing. But we have to live in the world, and we have to associate with people. And we are here to take not just ourselves back. We are here to take as many people back as well. That's the only way we can go back. Krishna says that our idea is to not just come back ourselves, because we won't go back that way. We have to bring a load of people with us, and that's what we're trying to do right now. It's that kind of Lord Chaitanya's movement. Every town, every village, we have to spread the word and bring as many people back as possible in these 10,000 years, the golden years that we have. So yeah, but don't while we in that process, don't take the ideas of the material world, or the material people, or don't take the material ideas. That's what not associating with them means. So thank you so much, Mini Mataji. Parveen Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, a very nice topic. It's picked up all the points. Importance of the association of pure devotees, Vaishnava Prad, and then material life and sense gratification. It does not give pleasure as it's temporary. So we need to engage our senses in the service of the Lord, as that gives us an eternal happiness. And also, it came to my mind Bhagavad-Gita 6.6, where Lord says about the controlled mind is your friend and uncontrolled mind is your enemy. So that's a very good realization. And like the point you said about when we don't have any material desires left. So again, anya bhilashita shunyam. So that comes here. So we have to get rid of all the material desires. So our subtle body is left here and we go back to Golok Vrindavan. Thank you so much. Very, very important topic. It's really, really good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Everything, it's covered really everything, I think, whatever I've learned so far. So very good. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. Is our Prem Prakash Prabhu? Are you there, Prabhu? Is that you there? Chanting, be happy. Very good. You're chanting, huh? Yeah, look happy. Anything, Prabhu? Prabhu,
I hope it's audible now. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu. I mean, both are Krishna. Chanting is Krishna. Bhagavatam is also Krishna. So, I mean, you try to touch feet as well as face, not something as it like that. That's good to do. So, sorry, Prabhuji. I think I was still speaking on mute.
no problem. Okay.
You are able to hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little bit, sound is a little bit robotic coming. It's not very clear.
Let me know if it's better now. I don't know.
Yeah, this is better.
I think it says that some bad internet connection. Hey Krishna, yes. So I'm not chanting at the moment while listening to Katha. Trying to do it. The realization is that you can't hold feet of Krishna, hand of Krishna, and everything at the same time. So chanting is Krishna, Bhagavatam Katha is Krishna, different aspects. So that's something I mean I'm trying to do, and bless me, I will be able to do that. Hare Krishna. So yes, so this is, I really like. I mean, there are a lot many things to learn. The first thing is to understand is that one should not actually get involved in blaspheming Vaishnav, or actually cause any offense to Vaishnav, or actually talk about any Vaishnav on the back. Krishna already says that in Bhagavad Gita said that if a Vaishnav even falls down, one should not actually feel bad about him or think bad about him, because he's continuously engaged in my service. He will regain his position. He will actually regain that position, his position, ultimately. So, uh, for a temporary situation, if we assess and judge the situation basic, then it's most likely that we also get involved with the karma of that situation and we get impacted as well. Um, and the Vaishnava Aparadh is one of the greatest Aparadh. Until that is removed, it is not possible to get over it. So our bhakti goes into a temporary uh, locker, and then it gets released only if we are given the key of forgiveness by the Vaishnava somehow. So a contemplation on thinking what we have done wrong and seriously feeling bad about it, and if not in person, if we mentally as well try to seek forgiveness, then there's a chance that we might get forgiven. So yeah, so that's something is that we should come to concentrate on our actions. Also, it is very very important that even if we see anything going wrong, we should try to understand from the perspective or pray to Krishna that, I mean, I'm not able to understand, I see that it's going wrong, but give me a vision or blessing so that I can understand the situation rather than judging the situation altogether by ourselves, whether it's right or wrong. Because for the devotee of a Krishna being engaged in a service, there is a greater plan Krishna has for that devotee somehow. Um, Obviously, it's not a permanent situation, it's still a temporary situation, but a temporary situation will take us or give us a detour to the longer route, and before we realize it, Krishna will make us realize someday. But before it happens, we need to, I mean, if we are aware, scriptures tells us that what we need to do, we should at least attempt to do it. And it's something which is not new. It is there in everyone's heart, and we all tend to judge members of our community somehow, and we should not do so. So
Sure.
that's a learning. That's what I have, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. I mean, also we notice that the Vaishnava might forgive us, but Krishna does not forgive. If we upset any Vaishnavas, he does not forgive, and that's a fact, isn't it? I mean, we've seen with Ambrish Maharaj and the Vasamuni, and even the Pandavas. The Pandavas didn't want to fight, but Krishna wanted to fight because the Pandavas were abused by the Kauravas, in every way, and Krishna wanted them to get their justice, right? So you might get so Vaishnava Prad is so big that you might get the Vaishnava himself saying that's fine, I forgive you, but the Lord, he wants to see some results. He's not happy that you upset his devotee, because like we saw heard a class where they're saying that when the devotee goes and cries to the Lord that this person has upset me, why I didn't do anything wrong, and they have spoken to me like this, or they've done this, and Krishna takes action, that his devotee has been hurt, his heart has been hurt, then Krishna takes some kind of action to rectify that, even though the devotee inside might not carry any grudge, but Krishna will do something to, I mean, the person who's the culprit, Krishna would also, in there also maybe devotee, but he wants to teach them to be better devotee. So he's helping them as well. So that's good.
Absolutely. So that is also very very important here. Krishna, I mean, sometimes it's important to just surrender to Krishna. I mean, that's why I had a realization that if we don't understand the situation, let's pray to Krishna to make us understand the situation, or approach a senior person whom we can absolutely trust to understand the situation with that mood, rather than criticizing someone. If I have a mood to understand what is going wrong, or if we see something wrong going, then we should try to really pray to Krishna, so that we can have a vision, so that what Krishna is wanting us to do. It's always better to surrender onto Krishna's plan rather than to have our own ego of doing service that I'm the best. Sometimes it happens basically. I mean, during the service, you will see that 24 by 24 24-hour kirtan or something. Some devotees actually engage since morning till night. Basically, they don't have time. It's separate. Trying to different example. I'm just talking about surrendering to the process. Is that they don't have time to even chant 16 rounds basically, but it's more important to serve devotees at time. That is a time, place, and circumstance that's asking. So having an ego that I need to do, I'm the best. I do 25 rounds, 32 rounds basically, rather than doing the minimum rounds and surrendering to the time, place, and situation, and doing the activity is more important. Uh, and also, it's difficult for the management. I mean, yourself, Prabhuji, I mean, being in management, it might be even difficult for you to actually, um, because you need to correct a person who might be not able to serve Krishna in its best of his ability, basically. So you need to correct that person, and how to convey that message to that person is also a big thing. It's very sensitive topic, but being there, it's something which actually comes with the Trina, the Pisu Nichena, the Ror Pisachana. So being humble, but still you need to convey the message. So it's just like a blade. It's just like a blade. You can't, if you're walking on, basically you need to be very careful when being devotee. Yeah, so that's, I mean, if you discuss this topic, it's a very big topic to discuss, but it's still.
That's right, right. You see, I was saying that some of the question like Prabhu Mataji asked, we can do a class on those topics because we only have a limited time in the morning.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
some questions we can give you like small explanation, then do a class on them. Like we're going to do a class on how to be in the mode of goodness and how to get out of the three modes. So we'll do a class on that. And anything else anybody would like a class on that they feel any subject they want to clarify or want more details, we can do a class on any topic. So that would be interesting. So I think let's leave it here on the discussion because it's nearly 10 to 9. We wanted to try and get a couple of rounds in. So we'll make a start on the chanting. Thank you so much. And next week we'll talk about King Chitraketu's lamentation. It's a very important topic. King Chitraketu is a very nice subject. Discuss that. And Sunday we have Mahatma Das, the Srila Prabhupada's disciple. So we will be. I'm looking forward to that. Very good class on Sunday as well. So thank you all so much. Thank you for the association. And let's do. I don't know. Can we try and fit in a couple of rounds? I think Rukmani Mataji, you want to make a start this week?
Okay, Prabhuji. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासुदेव गौर भक्तवृंद।